Good morning to all of you this morning, the young people, members of the Catholic Youth for Purity. I would like to welcome you this morning to our edition, answering questions that you have asked. And it's a grace to know that someone sits down, think of something to ask, and I realized every question, there's a story behind it. And one of those questions we are answering today is, Father Chisomo, how do we deal with conflicts that happen in the family? Could be conflicts between you and your brother, between you and your sister. Could be a conflict between you and your parents. Could be you and your uncles. Somehow, somewhere, everyone in their family, there have been or there are certain level of conflicts and disagreements that happen in the family. The person speaking to you practically every holiday become like a chief. You have to help that aunt who fought with that sister of mine, that uncle who is having issues with the other uncle, that family that is having. So they all wait when Father Chisomo comes, we shall share with him and he will know. So by virtue of being a priest, you become like a family chief. It's just a reality. It's just what it is. And I can't run away from that. But what is beautiful is when you solve these issues, family issues, you see people are coming together, understanding each other, forgiving one another. So we are to be members of the Catholic Youth for Purity, centers of unity. So to our gentleman or gentle lady who asked this question, how do we deal with family wrangles and conflicts? It's good that we think about it and just look at the Bible. What does God tell us about family issues? When you look at the life of Moses, he had issues with his family. And it was actually Miriam who was so related to him that actually she was causing more trouble for Moses. You may have many instances where families caused problems to others. Joseph and his brothers, they caused problems to him. David and his relatives, they caused problems to him. Lot and his brother, Esau, there have always been issues in the family. Sometimes Jonathan and his father Saul. So there are these cases in the Bible where you realize that no, family issues and wrangles cannot be run away from. And for us young people, purity is one thing, but purity is impossible. It's almost difficult if you have no peace within. That's why most of us or many people would always go for, for situations where they go for simpler, I would say, simpler options or simpler situations where they are just, they're just to let go of the frustration, they do something that is wrong. So I'm going to give you a few keys, a few tips on how you can deal with conflicts in the family. But let's start with Proverbs chapter 11, verse 29. He that troubles his own house shall inherit the wind, and the fool shall be the servant to the wise of heart. The family is one of the greatest, institution that God has ever created. It's supposed to be a place of love, peace, interaction, a place of rest. But unfortunately, many of our families have not become places of rest and peace. We would prefer go to a boarding school than stay at home because uncle is trying to disturb us, forcing us to get married. Auntie doesn't want us to be around them. So your own relatives become a pain in your own heart, in your own head, in your own everything. Just instead of being a consolation and a strength to go forward. A young man came to me, says, Father, my brother died, so I'm staying with his wife. And she takes care of me, but I think it's overburdening to her. These are your relatives. A relative can never be a burden to you because they are your own blood. This is why I've always, and I think I admire the South Sudanese, especially among the pastoral communities like the Dinka and the Nuer and all that. Everyone is a brother. Even if you have no place to rest, if someone is your own, you always create a space. Even if you have no food, you walk around the whole day together without nothing. But this is my relative, I have to take care of him. So to those of us who are keeping some hatred towards our brothers, our sisters, or whatever, it's time maybe for you. Let's start with something very, very important. Number one, all families experience a level of dysfunction. Sometimes we feel, it's my family, trust me, until you listen to Father Chisomo telling you stories of the family you admire, you will not admire anyway. Remember that every family has conflicts, challenges, and issues, including the one that you admire. Once you accept this truth, you try to reduce your pressure of trying to perpetuate, facades that sabotage and avoid engaging in a healthy conflict resolution. You will not change what we are not willing to acknowledge to acknowledge that is a problem in the home. Understand that these things happen. You can fight with your in-law, you can fight with your husband, you can fight with your mother, you can fight with whatever. I'm just speaking as if you're married, but I'm just saying as young people, these things are normal. But how long they stay in your heart, this matters a lot. So remember this, understand this, and that where people are, it doesn't need to be family. If families can fight, what about those who are not? Sometimes you find a friend is more family than your own relatives. It's okay, but they're not your blood. So the second point always comes to mind, make your family a priority. 1 Peter chapter 4, verse 8, above all, love each other deeply, because love covers a multitude of sins. If you want to have a healthy family that is at peace, learn to always prioritize your family. Make time for your family. Make time for your relatives. Visit them. I know there are many of us young people who don't even know how our grandparents look like, because our parents have taught us, don't go there, there is witchcraft in the village. Witchcraft will find you home. You don't have to go for it. It will come to you. If someone needs you, they will come for you. No, you don't have to associate with those people. They are not educated. You see, these are our parents telling us that. So they are just telling us that your family is not important. Your family is not important. Therefore, they are not part of you. No, that's your family, both basic and extended. That's your family. So love demonstrates care, and the prioritization shows importance. Your family members need to feel loved. Let your brother know he has a sister he can count on, accepted and important. Love is the foundation that establishes a strong home. If you are fighting in the house, you're in a very, very, very wrong place. Very wrong place. Or prioritize your mother. Make it a point that my brother becomes everything. So before I buy even gifts for my husband, my boyfriend, my brother needs to get the best treatment he needs, because he's my blood. Until you realize and go against the statement of Cain when he said, I'm not my brother's keeper, that is dangerous. I'm not my sister's keeper, that's dangerous. I am my sister's keeper. I am my mother's keeper. I am my brother's keeper. That's growth. And when we go on with that, you realize that once you realize, this is something that is special, then Exodus chapter 14, verse 14 comes in handy. The Lord shall fight for you, and you shall hold your peace. The third point I want to share with you is choose your battles wisely in the family. Don't allow the need to be right cause you to engage in unnecessary confrontations with family members. Be selective in your approach to conflict resolution. Not everything you have to put your nose there. You will mess up the family. What are the spoils and rewards for winning this argument? You're arguing with your brother. You're fighting with your sister. Just trying to show who is. No, you're fighting with yourself. Because their genetic makeup or their genetic whatever, it's just like what you have. They're your own. Their own blood. It may not be worth the fight if there's no substantial returns on your investment. Reserve your fight for what really matters. Don't waste energy fighting with relatives. Forgive them, love them, and move on, young people. Not everything is important to fight for. Why win the battle but lose your family in the process? There are people who want to make it to the top, to be the best, but then eventually you lose relationships. And then there's no one at your funeral because people found you as proud. The young people are so proud. They think because they have studied in Europe or because they have studied in the best universities in Malawi or Kenya or Zimbabwe, you think you're on top of all your relatives. All your family, they are nothing. No, they are something. It's just a matter of time. And as we do that, allow God to help you manage your reactions and emotions. Be ye angry and sin not. Let not the sun go down upon your wrath, neither give place to the devil. You find that in Ephesians chapter 4, verse 26. Don't be angry and don't sin in your anger. The ability to demonstrate self-control is a sign of spiritual maturity. And every young person who is a Catholic Youth for Purity should keep this at the back of their mind, that when it comes to my brother, I'll hold my emotions and express them well. When it comes to my mother, I'll hold my emotions. Imagine a young man who is a member of the Catholic Youth for Purity shouting at his father. Oh, just because he's old? he has no more money, or because you are now earning a lot, you can just say whatever you want to say. Don't bring curses on yourself. Huh? Don't bring punishment on yourself. Love your family. Yeah. Proverbs chapter 11 verse 29 says, he that troubles his house shall inherit the wind. What does this mean? That strife and the contention will cause unwanted storms and trouble in your home. A man who is always fighting with his, you're just bringing more issues and problems in your. So learn now to communicate life and not death. Death and life are in the power of the tongue, and they that love it shall eat the fruit thereof. It's not me, it's the Bible. Proverbs chapter 18 verse 21. Communicate life. Bring life into the family. Learn to listen to others. Practice prayers and forgiveness. It's very, very important. It's very, very important. Without forgiveness, it's impossible for a young person to live happily in the family. So there could be so many things we could discuss. What have you learned from this audio? Do you have a situation which you are struggling with in terms of relationship with any of your brothers or sisters? Share it. Let people help you. Post it out. Let people share. Let people guide you. And finally, as you seek forgiveness, you need God's grace. God's grace. It's very, very important to pray, my dear brothers and sisters, for our relatives. Very, very important. Very, very necessary and very, very crucial to pray, especially when we are faced with a challenge that we know is almost beyond our control. Because when we do that, we're allowing the Holy Spirit to be the center of our relationships, not the center of our emotions. May God bless you.